So good morning, and thank you for joining us at our One World Spiritual Center online Sunday gathering. I'm very glad you're here, and I hope you are having a fabulous weekend on this May 15th. We have a good gathering for you today. Reverend Kell is giving a talk called The Road Less Traveled, and I think she's going to be talking a bit about stewardship, and I hope you enjoy that. We have the opportunity to join together in prayer. We are going to find out a little bit about what our kids are doing. We're going to have some announcements about where One World is going in the next little bit. So I'm so glad you're here. Let's just take this time together to celebrate and renew and refresh and just have some time together as the beloved community that we are. So again, I'm so glad you're here. Before we jump into our opening prayer, I also want to take note of the fact that tomorrow is the celebration of Visak Day by many Buddhists around the world. The solar month of Visak, which is on the Indian calendar, and it roughly corresponds to April and May in our calendar, is traditionally considered to be the month of the Buddha's birth. So on Visak Day, which is celebrated at different days in different countries around the world, is a celebration of the Buddha's birth, his enlightenment, and his death. So for all who celebrate this holiday, happy Visak Day. So as we move forward, let's just take a minute and take a breath. Just take a deep, calm breath, as what we do is bring our awareness to this gathering, to this moment. I know it's only Sunday at 11 o'clock, but so much has been going on today, this past week, that sometimes we just have to, with intention, sit and still our minds and be calm. And be in the present, be in this right now. So just take a breath and bring your awareness to this moment. And let's just be grateful for this time together, for this community, for the opportunity we have every week just to come together and be together and learn and pray and celebrate and grow. So as we begin, I'd like to share with you a beautiful opening prayer, and it's by Richard Gillard. It's called Servant Prayer. So I invite you to listen. Will you let me be your servant? Let me be as Christ to you. Pray that I may have the grace to let you be my servant too. We are pilgrims on a journey. We are travelers on the road. We are here to help each other walk the mile and bear the load. I will hold the Christ light for you in the nighttime of your fear. I will hold my hand out to you, speak the peace you long to hear. I will weep when you are weeping. When you laugh, I'll laugh with you. I will share your joy and sorrow till we've seen this journey through. When we sing to God in heaven, we shall find such harmony, born of all we've known together, of Christ's love and agony. Will you let me be your servant? Let me be as Christ to you. Pray that I may have the grace to let you be my servant too. And so it is. What a great reminder that we travel this journey together. So Chris has sent me the reading that she would like for this week. It's a beautiful reading. It's from Silent Spring, written in 1962 by Rachel Carson. And so before her talk, I'd like to share that reading with you. You may be familiar with Rachel Carson's work, which was one of the seminal texts in the environmental movement back in 1962. So I invite you to listen to this reading. We stand now where two roads diverge, but unlike the roads in Robert Frost's familiar poem, they are not equally fair. The road we have long been traveling is deceptively easy, a smooth superhighway on which we progress with great speed, but at its end lies disaster. The other fork of the road, the one less traveled by, offers our last, our only chance to reach a destination that assures the preservation of the earth. The choice, after all, is ours to make. That was written in 1962. And so with that, I would like to pass the talking stick to Reverend Chris for her talk.
Good morning, everybody. When I knew I was going to be giving today's talk several weeks ago, I immediately wanted to talk about the subject of stewardship of the earth. And I knew it was a big, huge topic, so I started early. However, this topic, and because it's so huge, every time I started thinking about what I wanted to say, I was just overwhelmed with the amount of information available just on the net, and therefore the many directions in which a talk like this could go. Stewardship seems to be a big buzzword nowadays, but what does it really signify? According to Merriam-Webster, the definition of stewardship is 1, the office and duties and obligations of a steward, and 2, the conducting, supervising, or managing of something, and 3, the careful and responsible management of something entrusted to one's care, as in stewardship of natural resources. In a religious sense, the term stewardship means to look after the world for God. The Creator gave us a world in which humans have a special role as stewards of all creation. This means we are to look after the interests of the planet and all life on it. This belief is more about living in harmony with nature. Good stewardship provides the foundational framework for a spiritual, ethical response to the environmental challenges the world faces now. Stewardship proposes that human beings are entrusted with the earth to cultivate it and at the same time to care for it. Often the term dominion is used in connection with stewardship to mean authority, jurisdiction, control, and power. While all these words mean the right to govern, dominion stresses sovereign power or supreme authority. When steward, the word steward, first appeared as an English word during the Middle Ages, it functioned as a job description, denoting the office of a manager of a large household. Over the centuries, its range of reference grew to designate an oversight function in a variety of academic, business, and scientific settings. And in recent years, stewardship of environment has become a catchphrase for almost anything involving the environment. Some other common terms used today are sustainability science, social stewardship, ecosystem services, and stewardship science, all of which refer to maintaining the long-term integrity of planet and human well-being. In my research, I found these terms usually defined in similar ways, using phrases such as responsible use and protection of the natural environment, conservation and sustainable practices, and social ecological change, which will enhance ecosystem resilience and human well-being. And these are the short versions of the definition. Usually, they're so long and convoluted, it sort of loses its meaning by the time you get to the end of the sentence. Now, as you may have noted, among all of these phrases, none of them mention human well-being. They mention human well-being occasionally, but nowhere in these definitions or descriptions is there any reference, at least any that I read, of any solutions that include the words love and care of the earth. To my way of thinking, the active state of loving the earth is definitely a requisite for any, and I would add every, aspect of stewardship of the earth. The other day I was discussing this subject with my friend Karen, and she agreed. Love of the earth is a necessary characteristic for a steward of the earth. The other quality she mentioned right away, without even thinking about it, was effort. Actions that are worth taking are not easy. They require effort, and stewardship is no exception. Although loving the earth is easy, putting that love into action requires effort of thought, word, and deed. I was thinking about the last two talks we listened to when I was preparing for this talk. Deep Healing by Dr. Michael Semeka 2 weeks ago, and Reverend Melanie's talk on Mother's Day about a mother's unconditional love. And I thought, healing and love, exactly what I was looking for my talk this morning. So how does all this come together? Well, by asking and looking for a possible answer to this question. And it's long and convoluted, I have to warn you. Considering all the differing and often conflicting perspectives of what is necessary, possible, sustainable, and ethical to establish and maintain responsible stewardship of the earth, is there a common denominator from which everyone can begin? And more importantly, can we find it? My answer? Love of the earth, unconditional love, agape, an intentional choice to love and nurture the earth as wholly and holistically as possible, under any circumstances, with no expectations or rewards. But of course, there is a reward. In the long run, our reward is our continued existence and the existence of all creatures on earth. The Ecological Society of America states that over the next decade or two, we have a window of opportunity to radically redefine our relationship with the planet to reduce risks of global changes that could seriously degrade Earth's life support systems. They don't actually go as far to say that we may become extinct. Their solution is to seek to foster Earth stewardship by 1, clarifying the science needs for understanding and shaping trajectories of change. 2, communicating the basis for Earth stewardship to a broad range of audiences, including natural and social scientists, students, the general public, policymakers, and other practitioners. And 3, formulating strategies that foster a more sustainable trajectory of global change by enhancing ecosystem resilience and human well-being. And I know that's long. I hope you were able to follow, because I had to even leave out some words to get it to make any sense to me. However, I believe our relationship with Earth involves more than life support systems and enhancing the ecosystem. And I do not think that the imbalance and endangerment of the earth is only an environmental problem. It is a social, cultural, political, and spiritual problem as well. And taking it one step further, if your beliefs are grounded in the Christian biblical tradition or the Jewish tradition, our carelessness and greediness of Earth's resources is also a violation of our responsibilities and duties as given to us by the Creator of this planet. Generally speaking, while researching stewardship of the earth on the internet, I found a great many articles written mostly by men describing what environmental stewardship means in terms of conservation, sustainable practices, and repair from a primarily scientific perspective, with a few mentions of human well-being and ethical considerations kind of thrown in for good measure. On the other hand, when reading what women have written about stewardship of the earth, I more often found references to finding creative ways for healing through connection, compassion, community, and sustainable relationships, in addition to scientific methods, accompanied by a few articles that I found written by religious and/or spiritual scholars and teachers. Of course, now I readily admit that my study is only a small drop in the bucket of research that in large part deals and situational overviews and generalities. And I am no scholar in this area. I'm just like most people I know. I only know a little bit, but I believe it has been enough to give me an idea of what underlays popular thinking about stewardship of the earth. The environmental problems we are dealing with today are so numerous, widespread, and catastrophic that I think many people are simply overwhelmed by trying to understand them. A person will often simply say the problems are so big that as individuals, there is nothing we can do to fix them. I mean, after all, what can I do? From one perspective, this is an understandable viewpoint. One person alone doesn't make much of a dent in the world problems. And so we might believe we're justified to conclude that, of course, climate change affects all of us, but it's not my fault. I'm not really responsible, so it's not my problem either. And I can't really do anything about it anyway. However, when you multiply one person by the billions of people in the world who make simple contributions, such as conserving resources, turning out the lights, recycling, reducing their carbon footprint whenever possible, and all the other small actions we can take, that adds up to a massive effort on the part of individuals. But what concerns me more is the greed, corruption, power madness, ego trips, competition, and callous regard that are prominent in the so-called environmental stewardship practiced by many corporations, scientific organizations, and politically motivated governments. Actions that originate from a primarily patriarchal, secular, profit-focused system. Anya Elizabeth Johnson is a marine biologist, policy expert, founder and CEO of Ocean Collective, a consulting firm for conservation solutions grounded in social justice. Johnson's colleague, Atlanta resident Catherine K. Wilkinson, is an author, strategist, and teacher who has been named one of the 15 women who will save the world by Time magazine. Together, they have recently published a collection of essays in this book. It's called All We Can Save: Truth, Courage, and Solutions for the Climate Crisis. In the introduction, they tell us the same patriarchal power structure that oppresses and exploits girls, women, and non-binary people, and constricts and contorts boys and men, also wreaks destruction on the natural world. Dominance, violence, extraction, egotism, greed, ruthless competition. These hallmarks of patriarchy fuel the climate crisis just as surely as they do inequality, colluding with racism along the way. Its harms are chronic, cumulative, and fundamentally planetary. The climate crisis is not gender neutral. Climate change is a powerful threat multiplier, they say, making existing vulnerabilities and injustices worse. They go on to add that there is a growing proof of the link between climate change and gender-based violence. Rabbi Jonathan Narrow is an interfaith environmental wisdom teacher and advocate. He founded and directs the Interfaith Center for Sustainable Development based in Jerusalem. His belief is that in our times, the deterioration of the natural world and our planet's weakening ecological balance is due to human influence. In his view, the physical causes provide only partial answers. In order to truly understand this problem, he says we need to understand the root causes. And he believes that for many ecological issues, the root issues beyond the physical symptoms lie in the spiritual health of human beings. In Rabbi Neral's words, if one only seeks physical causes, one may incorrectly view them as the only reason for an effect occurring. Our usual pattern today is to turn to scientists and politicians for technological solutions to our environmental challenges. However, beyond the physical causes, the widespread degradation of the natural world indicates that our life is out of balance. Thus, the environmental crisis also reflects a spiritual crisis. Human-caused disruptions to the natural world emerge from the inner imbalance within billions of human beings. The change required of us to correct this is of a spiritual nature. Jewish and Christian tradition teaches us that we only deserve the opportunity to rule the earth if we behave righteously. In our times, we have demonstrated our ability to subdue the earth. This includes the spiritual discipline to use our resources wisely and subdue with a sense of moral responsibility. A central question facing humanity concerns whether we will find the strength to subdue our desires and our greed. Rabbi Neral warns us that if we continue to live as though God had only commanded us to subdue the earth, we must be prepared for our children to inherit a seriously degraded planet with the future of human civilization put into question. If we see our role as masters of the earth as a unique opportunity to truly serve and care for the planet, its creatures, and its resources, then we can reclaim our status as stewards of the world and raise our new generations in an environment much closer to that of Eden. Echoing Rachel Carson, he says, the choice is ours. The encyclical letter, Laudato Si, by Pope Francis, is a landmark document in the teaching of the Catholic Church. This letter to bishops the world over is devoted primarily to the environment, which didn't happen before. And it's based on the teaching that true religion requires justice toward God, others, and even the natural world. Pope Francis reminds us that the book of Genesis teaches that every man and woman is created out of love and made in God's image and likeness. This means that together with our obligation to use the earth's goods responsibly, we are called to recognize that other living beings have a value of their own in God's eyes. He writes, when we speak of the environment, what we really mean is a relationship existing between nature and the society that lives in it. Nature cannot be regarded as something separate from ourselves or as a mere setting in which we live. We are a part of nature, included in it, and thus in constant interaction with it. We are faced not with two separate crises, one environmental and the other social, but rather with one complex crisis, which is both social and environmental. Strategies for a solution demand an integrated approach to combating poverty, restoring dignity to the excluded, and at the same time protecting nature. The Pope's encyclical calls for both structural and personal change, not just one or the other. These are not two options, one of which to take and one to leave for later. Pope Francis advises that if we want to bring about deep change, our efforts will be inadequate and ineffectual unless we strive to promote a new way of thinking about human beings, life, society, and our relationship with nature. So it's there everywhere, but who's listening? Stewardship points to the purpose and role of humanity in creation, being in the image of God, and what that means for both humanity and nature, but we seem to have forgotten that. To me, it means that humans are the stewards of creation, not just goods and services, of creation. We bear the responsibility for looking after the world gifted to us and to future generations. We can choose to view stewardship not as a position of power and domination, but as a locus of love and an opportunity to build community of humans and non-humans. We are not called to look after what's left of Earth when we get through with it. We are called to love the Earth now and be an integral part of her. We must become the Earth's mother just as she is ours, treating her as a loved and valued member of our family. We are not alone in this task. We have been given gifts to assist us in our responsibilities and duties as stewards: intelligence, knowledge, empathy, compassion, and faith. And when needed, prophecy, tongues, in the sense of having the means to communicate in all languages, wisdom, understanding, patience, and fortitude. Our stewardship and nurturing of the earth is one of the greatest offerings of love we can give. We must trust that God can handle the long term and that one day Earth will be renewed. But we also need to realize that we have a responsibility to the Earth now. Our dominion over the Earth should never be confused as permission to abuse or abandon her. It's not as much about learning how to take care of the Earth as it is about remembering how to take care of each other. The Earth will take care of herself. She's been given the ability and the capability to do that. The path on which humans are taking all creation could mean extinction for many plant and animal species, including humans, followed by a period of healing and regeneration of the Earth. I have no idea what that would look like, and I suspect no one does. But I do believe that once humans are out of the way, the Earth is capable of reviving to ensure her own survival. The question is, are humans willing to ensure our own existence before she says enough and just lets us all go? Because if we fail in our task of stewardship, we fail not only the Earth, we fail ourselves. Sir Robert Swan, polar explorer and environmentalist, once stated, "The greatest threat to our planet is the belief that someone else will save it." As Johnson and Wilkinson remind us, we are all connected, each and every creature, nothing and no one left out. This is the truth of the world's wisdom traditions and increasingly of scientific findings. What that tells us is we cannot give up. To focus only on what we can do as individuals, they say, instead of what we can do together, will mean failure. And the level of commitment needed calls each and every human to their best effort to be all in together. So what can we do? These two women and others like them offer solutions in their book that I showed you earlier, All We Can Save. I really liked this book. It's a new book, published in 2020. I got it at the library, so it's easy to find. This book includes a section of listing climate solutions. Well, I don't have it marked, but it's several pages of suggestions of what we can do to help with climate solutions, and another section of organizations which can help us get there. In addition to 374 pages of ideas and insights by leading women scientists, journalists, activists, and just a whole lot more. And there are plenty of opportunities and ideas offered in other books, articles, websites, groups. It only takes a little effort to find something you can do. And if you can't find something, then start something. Possibility still exists, Johnson and Wilkinson tell us. Consider what good work is happening around us. what invitations we may have already received, and what gifts we may have to offer. From personal acts to professional prowess to political participation, our layers of agency are more profound than we may realize. Our choices and voices, our networks, dollars, and votes, our skills and ingenuity. These are all openings for those who refuse to give in to destruction, who rise again and again with life force. In his iconic poem, The Road Not Taken, Robert Frost wrote, "Two roads diverged in a wood, and I took the one less traveled by, and that has made all the difference. Do we have the love and courage to take the road less traveled?" Thank you. Have a great day.
Thank you, Reverend Chris, for that talk. It's a wonderful reminder of the obligation we have to each other, to creation. You know, and it's funny, every time as I was listening to your talk, it seems that every time I turn on the news, I see new opportunities and new ways that we can exercise that love toward each other and creation and our stewardship of each other and all creation. And I also see the many ways that we have failed to do that. So thank you so much for that talk. I also want to remind folks, if you wish to give others the opportunity to listen to Reverend Chris's talk or any of the talks we have, please just go ahead and remember to like them and share them on whatever social media platform you are listening to. It's a great way to get the word out about what we do here at One World and the talks that we share. So what I'd like to do now is move into our prayer time and just reflect that this is a wonderful opportunity for us to just share our light and our love and our hearts as we come together just in a brief moment of prayer and reflection for ourselves, for our beloved, for our community, and for our world. And I'd like to open our prayer time today by holding in our hearts and in our love all those affected, killed, injured by the shooting yesterday in Buffalo. I know we've seen that on the news, another shooting that is motivated, as far as we know, at this point, by racial hatred, by prejudice, by just hate. And I have to tell you, it came to my mind as I was listening to Chris's talk, when she was talking about spiritual imbalance, when she was talking about the need for all of us to simply treasure each other as part of creation, whatever race we are, whatever ethnicity, whatever belief, whatever language, whatever culture, doesn't matter. We are all part of creation. We are all united in this river that is life, that is creation gifted to us by Spirit. So let's just open by taking a minute and holding in our hearts and in our prayers those killed, the families of those killed, all those injured and affected, as we all are, by the latest mass shooting. You know, every time this happens, we see politicians calling for gun control. We see people saying, oh, what a shock, I never knew this would happen. It is time to make a change. Instead of just words, it is time to make sure that things like this stop. So let's just take a moment together and breathe and pray for those killed, injured, and affected by the shooting in Buffalo yesterday. Creator God, it is with grief and pain that we come today holding in our hearts those killed, those injured, all those affected by the crime yesterday in Buffalo, that crime of hatred and ignorance and violence, arrogance and oppression. We pray for those killed. We pray for those injured. We pray for their families, their beloved. May they somehow walk through these horrific events, which we cannot even imagine. May they somehow find support and peace and strength to get through these next days and weeks and months and years. We hold them in our hearts. May they know they are not alone. May they know that so many millions are appalled and sickened and heartsick at this continuing violence, at the act that took away or injured their beloved. May we as a community, as a national community, find ways to address gun violence. May we find ways, meaningful, real ways, to reduce the senseless killings that seem to appear all too often in our national fabric. May we act with courage and wisdom and love. May we be the stewards of each other that we are called to be, to eliminate this scourge of senseless death. It affects all of us. We give thanks for healing that we know is to come. We give thanks for the opportunity, each one of us, to be here, to make a difference, to do what we can, to lessen this senseless violence. And so it is. And together we say Amen. And as we continue to breathe together, to simply be together, we hold in our hearts all other situations around our world in which there is violence and pain or hunger or fear or oppression, the continuing war in Ukraine, the wars and battles and conflicts around our world. May the consciousness of love and peace and compassion spread. May the hearts which hold this energy have the courage to step forward and make a difference. May we do all we can to move our world toward a place of greater peace and oneness and kindness and compassion. We pray this in the many names of God, and so it is. And for each of you listening or watching here, let's just take the next few moments. And if you have a beloved on your heart, or an upcoming circumstance or situation, a challenge you are facing, let's just take the next few moments and for each one of us to hold that in our hearts, knowing it is heard, knowing that we are beloved and sustained at every moment in our lives, even when we feel surrounded by darkness and pain. May we know that we are beloved. So I invite you simply to take the next few moments and simply hold in your own heart whatever is coming up, any circumstances of you or your beloved, knowing it will be heard. Creator God, we release to you those names on our hearts, those circumstances, those upcoming challenges, those difficulties we face. We release them to you, knowing we rest in your arms, that we are borne up by the great river that is your love. That is the power that flows through us and as us and through all things. We give thanks for the light that sustains us, for the courage that comes to us at those moments when we need it the most. We are grateful for all that we are, all that we have been given. And so it is. And together we say, Amen. So as we conclude our prayer time, let's keep that energy in our hearts, knowing that at any time we can simply sit and breathe and call on that power to sustain us and to lift us up. So this is our opportunity in our gathering for me to say that I am grateful and that we at One World are grateful for your continuing support. This is our opportunity to give our gifts and our tithes and our offerings in support of One World. We are so thankful to each one of you who commits to sustaining this organization so that we can continue to bring you the programs that we bring, whether it's this Sunday gathering, our Wednesday discussions, our children's group, our morning meditations, whatever it is. We are very grateful to you for your continuing support. We commit these tithes to the continued work of One World to spread the message of compassion and love and peace, using the wisdom and the imagery and the language of the world's enduring faith traditions, so that we can spread the word that all faith traditions commit us to love and to peace and to kindness to each other. In this time of social division, of tribalism, it is a wonderful thing to be able to spread this message so that folks can know about other religions, about other cultures, about other people who believe as they do. That is a message these days it is so necessary to spread. And thank you for your support that helps us try to do that. Thank you so much. So now I'd like to share a little bit about what our kids are doing. Reverend Rebecca, our youth director, who is such a creative and joyful leader for our kids program. She tells me that for this week and for next week, she and our gang are going to explore the power of the 7 chakras. And what she tells me is that she is going to explore with them this inner resource of ours is a mystical skill, and our inner voice is part of our cosmic guidance system. Isn't that great to teach our kids about the system of the 7 chakras that line up our body, and that we can listen to that inner voice to give us guidance and perspective and peace, and that we have the right to respect it. That's a wonderful message for them to learn in their formative years, because in those years, it is so often the case that instead of listening to their own hearts, they listen to friends, they listen to peers, they listen to social media. I'm so grateful that Reverend Rebecca is teaching them, listen to yourself. You have a guidance system. You have the wisdom inside your own heart, which will tell you which way to travel. Many thanks to her, and many thanks to our kids who create the wonderful program that we have. So let me give you some announcements about what's coming up. Next week, and last week, I kind of messed this up. I got off the video last week and I said this week was Nazira Dawood, and somebody came up to me and said, no, isn't she the 22nd? I'm like, oh my God, yes, she is. Okay, so next week is going to be Dr. Nazira Dawood, who is the CEO and co-founder of this fabulous program. It's called Chai and Just Chat. And it is a project that she developed devoted to connection and dialogue, promoting interfaith and intercultural understanding. This is what she says in her introductory video. The power of public dialogue helps promote a deeper understanding within our different communities. her own life experience, her own professional journey, which I hope she'll tell you a little bit about. They both give her the insight to create these powerful community conversations. I met Dr. DeWood back in 2017. She was the chief of staff to John Eves down at the Fulton County Commission. And I was going down there to give an interfaith benediction for the opening of the county council, the county commission. And I met her back then. That's also when I met Cliff Dawkins, by the way. But I was one of the first guests when she started her Chai and Just Chat series, and she has kept it up. And I got to tell you, get on the website because she talks about some amazing topics. They are all over the place, from Medicare to the power of having your own language of origin, to sexism, to environmentalism. What she does is she just gets panelists on who are experts or commentators on these different fields, and she has great conversations. So I encourage you to look into that. That is going to be next week. Also, Jennifer Farron is going to be with us and give us her music. I will not be here because I'm going to my niece's graduation in Virginia. So Jennifer is going to share her music, and she's also going to lead the service. So many thanks to Jennifer for that. Okay, May 20th through the 21st is also Compassionate, and I'm turning the page here, is also Compassionate Atlanta's what they call Compassion Con. They are doing 3 days of seminars and gatherings and events surrounding compassion. I got an email from Leanne Rubenstein, who's the co-director of Compassionate Atlanta, and I'm just going to read you a little bit about what they're doing, but I encourage you to go to this website, compassioncon.org, compassioncon.org, and it's going to give you some of the details. Day 1 is Compassion for Self, and they have a seminar on community resiliency. They're going to be having yoga, self-compassion guided meditation, and a metta prayer. That is offered by Mitch Cohen, whom we know and love, and Zeitgeist. They are having a presentation by Atlanta Pride. Day 2 is going to be Compassion for Community. And down at Grant Park between 11 and 3, there's going to be a bunch of activities for people of all ages. Arthur from Georgia Public Broadcasting is going to be there. That's going to be way fun. Earth-friendly activities, food trucks, sound baths, art for kids and adults. If you are looking for something to do on next Saturday, go to compassioncon.org and check out what is happening at Grant Park. Day 3 is going to be Compassion for the Earth, lots of do-it-yourself activities. So the reason I've taken up so much time talking about this is because it's going to be way cool. Please go to the website or go to Compassionate Atlanta's website, find out what's going on, tell your friends, and let's support Compassion Con next week. June 4th, okay, this is fun. We are having a One World Summer Picnic at Morgan Falls Overlook Park. Tim Rainey, many thanks to Tim, has reserved it from 1 to 3. So save the date, June 4th, 1 to 3 at Morgan Falls Overlook Park. That's the same place we had the earlier picnic, and we are going to have a summer picnic. If you would like to help organize that event, please let me know or let Tim Rainey know. Other than that, our regular events, our Wednesday discussions, our morning meditations, those are still happening. So that is our announcements. Please join us immediately after this gathering for a Zoom fellowship, and we can talk about some of these events. Okay, so again, I'm so glad you had the opportunity to join us today. Our closing prayer is coming from a Gaelic blessing originally composed by William Sharp and adapted by John Ritter. So I invite you to listen as I share with you our closing prayer and blessing. It's called Deep Peace. Deep peace. Deep peace I breathe into you. Deep peace, red wind of the east to you. Deep peace, gray wind of the west to you. Deep peace, dark wind of the north from you. Deep peace, blue wind of the south to you. Deep peace, pure red of the flame to you. Deep peace, pure white of the moon to you. Deep peace, pure green of the grass to you. Deep peace, pure brown of the earth to you. Deep peace, pure gray of the dew to you. Deep peace, pure blue of the sky to you. Deep peace of the running wave to you. Deep peace of the flowing air to you. Deep peace of the quiet earth to you. Deep peace of the sleeping stones to you. Peace, peace, and by the will of the King of the elements, peace. So many blessings. We are now concluded. Have a wonderful day, and we look forward to seeing you on the Zoom for fellowship right now. Thank you again.